I'm not a big fan of recordings, but I sure do love that Baby Beard podcast. That's my attempt at Nixon.
Thanks, Nixon. All right, well, that was a bad suggestion. Shut up and take my podcast.
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to Shut Up and Take My Podcast, a podcast where we look at every Futurama episode from the beginning all the way to the end and beyond until it finishes. We are on episode 10.
Hey.
I had to look at that. I couldn't even remember.
Losing track.
A Flight to Remember, which is a play on what?
A Night to Remember.
Yeah, which is the book. I haven't read the book, but it's fine. The director is Peter Avancino, who did The Series Has Landed and worked on our favorite Fear of a Bot Planet. The writer is Eric Horsted, who did I, Roommate. So we've got September 26th, 1999 is the air date. I want to quickly point something out. Me and Chris were talking earlier about you thought that this episode was season 2 because you thought...
I thought this episode was later as well.
Well,
Yes.
we're both right because there's a production order and then there's a broadcast order.
Right.
So if you're going by the production order, so the way that the creators had done the seasons and what is on the DVDs, this is still season 1.
Right.
If you're going by the way they broadcast it, this is season 2. So just for the purpose of this podcast, we're going with this still being season 1, just because if you start going by broadcast order, there's about like 10 seasons and it just gets really weird and jumbled the way they cut it and the way they do mid-season. So if we do it this way, then we're just sticking with the 7 seasons. So for anyone going, this is season 2, shut up and take our podcast.
That's right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That the production order is different too. I mean, so vastly different.
This is the first time it kind of makes a blip. When it comes back in Comedy Central, especially, like post-season 5, is when the seasons really start going weird. 20 plus episodes per season. They kind of split them broadcast wide into different seasons, and then it just gets all... we're introducing two characters. So the Wongs, Leo and Inez, and La Barbara. Plot.
The crew threaten to quit. They get rewarded with a Titanic cruise. It being the Titanic and being piloted by one Captain Zaf Brannigan. It crashes into an iceberg, aka a comet, which are the icebergs of the sky. And it descends into a black hole. Bender finds the love of his life and loses her. Leela uses Fry to pretend to be her fiancé, and Amy Wong uses Fry to pretend to be Amy's boyfriend.
Yes.
I think that makes sense.
Yep.
It's shenanigans.
And and Hermes, we get the first glimpse of
we
Hermes
do get a bit of Hermes
as former limbo champion.
I want a limbo like Hermes.
So there's a lot of plots going on
there are.
simultaneously. It's Titanic.
Yeah, it's
Titanic.
This is Titanic. Titanic came out in December of 1997, almost 2 years
Nearly
after
2
the
years
movie.
old. Yep.
They did conceive this about a year ago, and when it was initially going to be a part of season 1, this was going to be a bit more relevant, but because of the 4-month break, it's further distancing itself.
But
So
it was
it's
such
still
a big film.
Oh yeah. So yeah, this is the first time where a whole episode is a parody of a movie.
Yes.
Because we're going to get that 2 more times in
we
this
get that a
season
bit
alone.
more.
Yeah, what do we think?
I enjoy it. It's fun. Titanic parody. I'm down for that. Zach Brannigan, the most incompetent Starfleet captain ever, is chosen to pilot a cruise liner.
Yep.
He does
For
a
some
lot
reason-
of freelancing.
Yeah, he does a lot of... I'm assuming Dupe just like... Well, to be fair, he just defeated the aged
was
care
it?
facility.
Of assisted living.
In the galaxy of assistant
I'm
living.
just starting to catch, like, every time he comes in, there's like a new group of people, deaf people or assisted living or...
He's always killing innocent people,
He is.
basically, or
It's
the
great.
weak.
Yeah,
or
the weak.
like-
So you thought it was okay?
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really strange. I find I need to remember what happens going forward in later seasons, but I'm not as much of a fan. I'm not as engaged with these episodes that are full-length parodies of something. Mm-hmm. Particularly, I mean, I'm enjoying some of the other references that we're getting. We get a short Shakespeare line about star-crossed lovers. We've got the Love Boat, Isaac, who's Isaac Washington from that series. I thoroughly enjoyed him. You got it.
It would still work these days because people would be like, oh, Isaac.
Yeah,
He's a robot. iPhone.
Apple's.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I did enjoy. This is what I really thoroughly enjoyed, is that this is a very 3D heavy episode.
Yeah, there is a lot.
There's a lot.
There
This is
is.
when they're really exploring what they can do in the technology that they've
They're
got.
using it with not even like wider shots of the Titanic, even like when Bender's kissing his love interest
Yeah.
or when they're
Yellow
escaping.
Road.
They're
She's-
using it to heighten moments rather
Yeah, like
than,
she's like,
than
I'm
just
a class 3 yacht.
Yeah.
And she's using 3D to escape.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm enjoying their homage to the score, the use of music that we've got in this episode.
Yep. Oh, sorry, you mean the score as in the score of the movie Titanic?
No, the score of Futurama and the way they've implemented that. Because it's
Right,
not
right,
the
right.
exact music, is it?
No.
It's
No,
like obviously
yeah, yeah.
slightly tweaked.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
it's not a very memorable episode to me.
I think it's memorable because it's the Titanic.
Yes, but
That's-
as far as kind of, I do also. I'm just enjoying a few of the seeds that are planted. This is the first time we get the Fry and Leela relationship as something more than
Yeah.
a platonic kind of.
And we see
banter between the
Leela
two.
kind of jealous. Like, she doesn't want Fry, but I guess in a
but
way that she kind of
but
does.
She doesn't. Oh, we get the introduction of Kif and Amy as a
Yes.
thing,
As
a
which is
relationship.
Yeah.
which was initially just going to be a one-off joke. It was just going to be a joke at the end of, haha, we get someone. Then later it's, oh, this is actually useful for us.
Yeah.
This is how we can keep bringing Zap and Kif back.
Yeah.
in.
And we can use Amy more.
It's a
So
good
like-
link, yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Let's lean on that.
I didn't like it.
Just don't like any of it, or
So I should preface that I've never seen Titanic
I haven't seen it
Really?
since I was 10.
ever.
ever.
I've never seen Titanic.
Hey,
that
like
doesn't.
And neither
the
have a
third
lot
act's
of the
great.
neither have a lot of the writers.
Really?
Some of the creators, some of the writers were like, some actually went ahead and did do it as a reference point. We have a shower.
If you guys can hear that, that's fine.
Yeah. So if you can hear it, that's fine. Just roll
It's
ahead.
our own Titanic in the background.
Yeah, the walls are leaking.
Yeah,
Where
we're
it was-
drowning slowly.
Steer on towards this iceberg. But yes.
So yeah, I've never seen Titanic. That doesn't mean I don't like Titanic parodies, though.
Yeah, well, you don't need to watch Titanic to know about
That's
Titanic
right.
because it's so ingrained into like
Yeah.
popular culture.
Yeah.
We know the moment where he picks her up at the
Yep.
end of the
Into the
boat.
car.
Basically,
Yeah.
seen the whole movie without seeing it.
Exactly.
However, I don't like this episode because I think there are far too many moving parts. I think
As
there
in the different storylines that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
There are about 4 or 5. It might be because we have the whole crew there. Basically, the whole cast and crew of the main plot, plus 3 new groups of characters. We have Amy's parents, we have...
La Barbara.
And then we have Zap Brannigan and Kif.
Yeah.
So actually, it's very cluttered as far as cast is concerned.
Yeah.
Like, as far as
So would you
characters.
prefer just maybe like a Bender-centered episode with like a side story, or you just don't want Fry has to date Amy? and then,
Actually,
like,
I
all
really-
Because
that-
that's the Three's Company homage.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
the Three's Company bit, and I like Bender being...
I like him falling.
Yeah,
in love.
falling in
Yeah.
love. That to
Yeah.
me is great.
Yeah.
Hermes, not so much.
That
I
can
actually,
slot in kind of in
Yeah, you
any
can put
episodes
that
further
anywhere.
on.
it just gets a bit cluttered is all. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad episode. I just find it a bit too much where I'm like, oh, focus on the characters, please.
Yeah.
Because in the end, a lot of things are left kind of untalked about. Amy and Fry are left untalked about.
Yeah.
Fry and Leela is left untalked about. Yeah, it's just a lot of stuff kind of feels like
And
it
they could have
goes to
used
the
that time
wayside.
if they cut Hermes jokes.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Like, I don't think the professor needs to be there. Like, the idea of the, like, at the beginning of the episode, we get main group divided into 2. Professor, Hermes, Zoidberg, taken up to first class.
Yep.
And then the other 4 go down to the Fiesta deck.
Yes.
Which is great. I don't see why we need to revisit any of the characters from first class if our focus goes with the 4 downstairs. I would be really interested in following Bender, Leela, Fry, and Amy for the entire episode. That to me feels like it would be really good. And then we have the Professor Zoidberg and Hermes come back later on and be like, hey, the whole thing's blowing up. What are you guys doing? And then, like, they've had shenanigans throughout the whole event. Like, that,
Yeah.
that to
Yeah.
me seems more narratively focused.
You could do a little like quick gag if that happened where like Zoidberg, it's like, oh, what did you guys get up to? And Zoidberg and Hermes say these very weird, outlandish things.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, that could have been an episode in itself.
Exactly.
That's kind
Yeah.
of funny.
Yeah.
Like things that don't quite make sense.
Exactly.
Out of context.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think I agree with you in points. Like it didn't so much throw me out. I kind of like the seeding of things that we'll revisit later, like Hermes with Barbados Slim, which will come later. I do what I think, like, because that wasn't an issue for me, but when I think about what you've said, what that would have done for me is that would have made this more memorable as an episode for me in my head if we did streamline the characters and what we're using. Because we will get that next week when they only take a few characters with them on an episode
Yes.
and we take away some of the secondary characters because they're more superfluous for the purposes of that particular story.
I really enjoy the last kind of that hallway run. The main group is running and Hermes has to limbo under.
Yeah.
And Zoidberg kind of opens it with his claw. Like, all of that is really useful and really fun. Maybe if Hermes had been introduced as a limboer in that moment.
And they're like, what's this?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't get addressed.
Yeah, that might have been better.
Like a seed is planted.
Absolutely.
Like, how do you do that? Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. We get like a weird flashback, and then maybe that would have been a better way instead of kind of plotting out Hermes in that moment as if he's a main character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it would have been maybe a bit of a story hook the other way around.
I thought be a bit left of field doing it.
Yeah,
it's just interesting because Futurama hasn't been afraid to do that. Like to just put in seeds of things and not explain them.
Yeah,
because they can pay off much later. Because I can't remember when Hermes' limbo... what's the plural of that? Hermes' limbo past gets reintroduced later. I can't... Because I think the next time it's introduced is with Barbados Slim.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
I can't remember how much of a central plot that is for that episode or if it is a side plot once again.
Yeah.
But you could take that out and introduce that as... I would love to visit Hermes' limbo past as a whole episode.
Well, also we're introduced to his wife incredibly briefly.
Yes.
And I don't think that's useful either.
Yeah, she just happens to be there.
Yeah, I would have liked it had... And I mean, I think you can make something more of like them being split up. It's like Leela goes out and says like the accommodation's trash, but the view is spectacular, And Fry's like, it's romantic. I mean, platonic. That moment.
Yeah.
That's great. We could have doubled down on that, I think, had we had, like, the upper class people being like, this is the upper class view. Only the people from the upper class get to see this section of this court, and it's a better view. Like, everything is better.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something in there that says, like, why would you separate them than to have not them come back together?
Yeah.
For the sake of a joke. It's not a great payoff then.
What is your favourite moment of this episode?
My favourite moment of the episode is Hermes' flashback.
Yes.
Where the kid jumps the barricade and tries to limbo.
Oh, the
and
sound.
Then dies.
The sound.
He's limboing up in heaven.
Yeah. That's my favourite part. My favourite part from like the episode I'm proposing would be Fry's That Sure Is a Romantic View. Platonic. That to me is my favourite.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just because it's such a Fry thing to say.
Yeah. James?
Favorite moments. I love a lot of the Zap Brannigan stuff. I like when he floats away in his little Jetson
The Jetson sound.
escape pod.
Yeah.
And like he just like straight in front of Kif, leaving him to die. I kind of like when they say like, oh, it's the Titanic at the start. It's like dun dun dun.
That's right.
The deadpan faces.
The like massive cuts all over the place. Yeah.
And they're just cool with it. It's like, oh, okay, Professor trying to limbo.
That's my favourite moment of the episode.
Oh, really?
Like, just as far as like what gave me a visceral laugh.
Yeah.
And what I remembered from the episode is just Professor Farnsworth, lean back, Professor, goes about an inch, just hits it, and his face is so angry. Ow!
Because he's so weak. You probably hurt his bones.
And from that same scene, Zap comes out, goes center stage, hands on hips, and just starts talking about the limo competition. And Kif just looks in like, shouldn't you be steering in between
his line is like, our path has become more suicidal than we expected.
Much more enjoying Ziff's... Ziff?
Ziff and Kif. That's their ship name.
Zap and Kif.
Yeah, Zap and Kif.
What's his name? Kif's deadpan lines. I just love the delivery in this. It's just beautiful.
What's your worst part about this episode? If you had to make edits to it or cut something, or if you think a joke didn't fly well?
Pun. Because they're flying.
Yeah. It's jokes that didn't fly well.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing I would, other than what I've already proposed as changes, I think the worst thing in the episode is some of the Countess's moments don't seem to fly as well as they should. So her freshening up bit, and then she goes into the cupboard, and you hear like the sound of a grinder.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we get it. It's a robot. It's not clever, I don't think.
I feel maybe we didn't spend enough time with her.
Yeah. Totally.
Maybe like Bender's like loving her. Like,
Yep.
I'm
Well,
not
we-
really sure why he
we-
fell in love.
We do
with
that
her.
in three shots.
Yeah.
We do
It's the love
homage
at first
to
sight thing.
we do homage to Titanic movie, homage
Yep.
to Titanic movie, homage to Titanic movie, and we do them as consecutive, like three
Yeah.
shots,
Yeah.
one after the other, after the other, after the other, and it doesn't help. It's like they're all funny takes on the original, like Bender painting her, drawing her in the nude, but it's a computer printout and
Yeah,
it's circuits.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, that's a interesting way, a take on it, but it doesn't actually, there's no conversation between them.
Yeah, well,
It's just a joke.
Well, for me, like, yeah, that you got those basically those jokes of those in that montage sequence of them being in love, but there is no like leading into that.
Yeah, there's no leading into it, and there's no
why-
context in those.
Other
either.
than Bender falling in love at first sight, we don't really, and that's a gag in itself.
Yeah.
We don't see a conversation of why he would like her other than just physical appearance
and the money.
and the money. But
And even then, we don't actually.
It's like he put the jewel away.
Yeah, so we understand that it is a Bender is capable of love and it's romantic and that's great. But we don't get a sense of why he has fallen other than he's smitten. And maybe I haven't seen Titanic, so actually is the actual thing from Titanic they actually just fall in love at first sight?
Well, I'm also inclined to partly disagree with that because for me, I read the montage as passage of time, so I'm not looking at it as they did spend time together, and because you are looking at this as because it is hindered by the fact that yes, half their relationship is based on it being a parody of Titanic, which is from memory is quite quick as well. So yes, half their relationship does come from a gag, but it didn't hinder my understanding of why they're in a relationship as such. It didn't hinder me personally. I think for me, what was very helpful is that he did put the jewel away, because at the very beginning, and I am questioning throughout the episode, is he just with her for the money? But through some of his dialogue with Fry and with other people, and the fact that he does go back to save her, there is more to it. Yeah, they could have fleshed out with another scene.
I would have liked, because in the original movie, obviously, they're both from different class groups.
Yes.
And the father obviously does not want to have his daughter be with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sure.
I would have kind of liked that as well, where it's like she has a rich robot father.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't want you with this like lower class bending robot.
Sure.
And just have like comedy grow from that.
Well, that's part of like, there's a reason why Romeo and Juliet is referenced in this. Basically, Titanic is Romeo and Juliet, from what you've just said.
Yeah.
Sort of, in that, people don't want others to date, parents don't want the children to date each other. You need a conflict, otherwise there's no romantic payoff.
And there was actually initially conflict in one of the earlier drafts. There was going to be an extra character, which was one of like kind of in a love triangle, or in another draft, it was just Bender in love with this character was a slot machine, who ends up being sentient.
Right.
And they just had that as a character who was, I think, like an ex of Della Roca, and it got a bit weird. But it was a conflict that was standing in the way of the
Right. Well,
Countess.
Well, in the Titanic, we'll have who is his name?
The young man who is of her class.
Yeah, he plays Billy Zane.
Yeah.
Billy Zane.
Sure.
Before he lost his career. Yeah, he was a love interest who was off her class, and the father was definitely approving of him.
Yeah.
You had that conflict.
Yeah.
I guess from both
Obstacle
sides.
after obstacle.
Yeah,
that gets in
it's
the
like
way of them.
he's really trying to work for her.
Yeah.
And the relationship.
That may have been a better use of them having a secondary character other than the Isaac.
Yeah.
And that's something that you potentially could put in if you are not focusing on the side plots of some of the other characters in there, like Hermes. And
if you're cutting
absolutely.
it,
you can take some of
that's
those
what
plots out and you
time
can
for
flesh out the primary role.
Anyone else have any moments that they thought were worth highlighting?
Highlighting or
I mean, I've sounded really critical of the episode. I don't think it's that bad. I just think there's
definitely not.
It's really not. I just think there are a lot of missed potential for what was a season 1 episode, and a lot of stuff that's superfluous.
Yeah, definitely.
Like stuff that either should be like a one-liner story hook thing to build the universe later, like just little one-offs, or things that were like, this needed to be a full episode.
Yeah. For me, what is a quintessential Futurama episode, or to my taste, what I enjoy, is not the episodes that focus on being a parody for the entirety of an episode.
Yeah.
That's why this one doesn't really ring as one of the more memorable episodes for me, because half their jokes come from the parody of the film, which I haven't seen in 15 years.
Yeah, well, I think if they were going to parrot, like they're parodying this Titanic so hard, why not go all the way?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you're at the Titanic, you're doing so much towards it. Just literally rip everything off and make Bender Leonardo DiCaprio and go all the way with it.
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem, is that often when you have these parodies, either they're just a parody and it's very quick, or they subvert the whole thing. There's actually no subversion in this episode.
It's half parody, half homage.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. There's no subversion. Like, Bender does fall romantically in love. Like, that's what Leonardo DiCaprio does. Like, that's not a parody.
Yeah,
that's homage. There's nothing in the episode that says, this is kind of a deconstruction of it, other than Brannigan being like, the reason why we're going to crash into a iceberg is because I'm a crazy person. You know, that's the only thing that's kind of even that. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that subverts anything.
Yeah.
And my favourite scenes ended up being a lot of the ones that have Zach Brannigan involved in some way, outside of the Titanic parody nature of it. So that's what was memorable to me. And I'm laughing at Kiefer, I'm laughing at... These are characters that are being brought in that are heightening my entertainment of the episode. It's an episode that, not bad. Like, not bad at all. But it just doesn't sit with me as being a particularly strong episode.
I don't imagine people quoting this episode a lot, and I don't imagine people being like, it's not one of my top 10s. It's like, no.
It does hit in the top 20 of some lists.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Surprises me.
So how do we guys think this stacks up against Heller's Other Robots?
No, it doesn't win.
It loses. I mean, like, I still liked it, but yeah, it just doesn't...
It's not as good.
Yeah. To put it
really simply.
So a flight to remember?
Yeah, it's just not as good.
Yeah.
It wins? Yeah.
No. Oh, no.
Wins?
Or do you vote for it?
No, all three of us voted that way. So I just retconned it.
Needless conflict.
Yeah. I will say it's... as long as you say the previous one is better, I will say this one's good, just for conflict.
No, I'm very much Heller's Other Robots.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm just trying to think of...
What character
we're
going to do the impression of? That's a tough one.
Tell me, have we done Hermes yet?
No.
Doesn't want to do the Hermes?
Yeah, let's do a Hermes.
Let's do Hermes.
Let's do a Hermes.
I'll try.
This is how all of them start. I will try.
Yeah, it's like you're in your brain and you're thinking, how does he sound and what does he say? I'm gonna try and talk like Limbo Man. I mean, I can just do like regular Jamaican man, but like,
I think that's about as close as I'll get.
You just say man a lot, and you just, I'm gonna go limbo. Hey,
this is for that little boy who's limboing up in heaven right now.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Nobody except the legendary limbo champion
Rips off his shirt and he's got
the first of many times where Hermes will just rip his clothes off.
That's great.
I feel like he's got those rippable shirts.
Yeah.
It's not actually just like he's just tough. It's just rippable shirts he wears all the time.
So that was more of a lesson in accents rather than voice. But it's good.
Done.
Any Jamaicans listening?
The only
we're sorry. We're so
only
sorry.
Futurama character voice that you could probably emulate just because it's
an accent.
It's an accent. Yeah.
He doesn't actually have it, and the voice does change through the seasons.
Yeah, it's like, are we doing Futurama? Are we doing Cool Runnings? You just don't know.
Yeah, bit of both. Little column A, little column B.
Feel free to tell us how great our accent was, how great that impersonation was at babybeardmedia at gmail.com.
Yeah, more of that, please. So if you guys want to send us some lovely content, send us some lovely emails, send it to babybeardmedia at gmail.com.
Or a Facebook page.
Yeah.
We do have a Facebook page.
Hey, we do.
Yeah. I mean,
we do.
It needs a little work, but it's
there.
Yeah.
It is there, yeah.
I think we have... because we haven't gone live at the time of this recording, we only have one person who's liked it, which is your partner, James.
Yeah. I showed him because I was complaining about trying to get dimensions right for ages, because if you're trying to do the cover photo, when I first did it, I'm like, oh, I'm on the laptop version. So I'm like, okay, this works out fine. I check on the phone and it's cut to 1920 by 1080 and I'm like, I'm not happy either way. It's not fitted right for either of them, so I just have to deal with one that works for both.
Yep.
Really.
Okay.
Instead, there's no option for one for laptop, one for mobile.
There should.
There should be an option.
Yeah.
I feel like there probably is somewhere that I don't know about.
Tucked away.
Yeah.
Deep
They just don't advertise for some reason.
Zuckerberg, email us, please.
He's a big fan.
I've heard so.
Well, until next time, which we'll be looking at Mars University.
Woo! Sweet. Woo!
So we head to Mars.
Yay!
Until then, I have been Sean.
And I've been James.
And I have been Chris.
Yay!
Bye.
Goodbye, friends.
Everybody, and I'm sorry for the shower. When Babybeard Media. I can't say
Meridia.
I can't say media as Nixon. It's hard. So I'm used to just mumbling through
Sentences.
Yeah. Like,
Yep.
like people figure out what I mean, but it's not great to hear.
Australians figure out what I mean.
right.
Yeah.
Just have your tongue down your throat.
Sounds like Stitch.
Yeah.
Which was my version of
Zoidberg, wasn't it?
was it Zoid Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Jounds?
Jounds?
Yeah. It's Jounds technically. It's not Jounds.
It's like Michael Caine changed his name to Michael Caine.
Yes.
Yeah.
From
It was something else.
I think Michael Caine changed to Michael Caine. I'm like, that's
No, he wasn't.
That's the
not
definition
helpful.
of not a change.
Yeah, just different spelling.
from a K to a C.
Yeah.
Guesses on Michael Caine's real name.
No, there are millions of names that can't.
Maurice Joseph Micklewhite.
That's-
He's 83.
Is he?
He's the same age as William Shatner.
Who aged
weird.
better?
It's weird that you know that.
When
I
I'm
know.
83. Oh, it's
A bit of a
not going to be a
mess.
good time.
Like, remember a podcast? What's a podcast?
I'll be dead by the time I'm 83.
In a cold, cold grave.
Yep.
I'll be dead by the time I'm 60.
Yep.
Yeah, I can sense that.
I won't make it past 43.
That
Probably
means had we done like a Simpsons podcast all the way through,
I would have died midway through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get a new Chris.
Better one.
Yeah. No, like you end up like having a kid in between.
Yeah, I was going to
We'll
say
raise
Chris's
him.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Named Chris.
Um,
Hello. That's not anyone.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.